If you want to know what shadow work is, so that you can make life better for yourself on all levels, you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what shadow work is, show you 6 powerful ways it can change your life, and give you 5 practical tools to begin. Because the truth is, if you're struggling right now, it's probably because you're playing the self-development game without a clear strategy. That's where shadow work comes in. I've been doing shadow work for many years. It's helped me find deep inner peace. It's helped me release so much of my past that I've literally shifted my skull bones and grown taller in my 50s. And most importantly, I've spent hundreds of hours developing a clear path through this work, so you don't have to take as long as I did. So let's talk about what shadow work really is, why it's called that, whether you're ready for it, and how to begin releasing what your body's been holding so you can finally find peace. Think of your body as a house. Most of us live in the main rooms, what we're aware of, what we show to the world. But deep underneath is a basement, a place we don't visit often. It's dark down there. Over the years, we've filled it with boxes, old thoughts we didn't want to think, emotions we didn't know how to feel, beliefs we absorbed as children but never questioned. That's the shadow. And shadow work? It's grabbing a flashlight, opening the door, and going down there. At first, it's uncomfortable, dusty, cramped. But as you start to open the boxes and look at what's in there, something shifts. You start installing lights, real awareness. Eventually, that once dark basement becomes a bright, open space, a part of you that you can now live in, use, and feel peace in. The shadow is no longer hidden, it's integrated. But how did those parts get hidden in the first place? We're born whole, but as kids, we rely on the people around us to survive. So we quickly learn which parts of us are okay to show and which parts are not. What we express freely at first, emotions, confidence, creativity, gets shaped by what our family or culture approves of. Those rejected parts get boxed up and sent down to the basement, even if they're beautiful. So yes, the shadow can include anger, fear, and shame, but it can also include your voice, your strength, your joy, anything you had to exile to stay loved or safe. Carl Jung coined the term the shadow to describe the parts of ourselves that we've pushed away or hidden, those boxes in the basement. Doing shadow work means being honest with ourselves, turning inward to gently face those parts, so we can reclaim the wholeness that's always been ours, our true self. Jung described the shadow as the unconscious part of ourselves, what we've split off or hidden away. Like a basement that holds what's out of sight, our shadow lives in that unseen, unconscious space. You can think of it as the difference between what we're conscious or are aware of and what we're not, what is subconscious. And it's that split, the divide between the parts we accept and the parts we reject, that opens the basement door. Shadow work means finding that door, walking down the steps, opening the boxes, shining a light inside, and clearing them out so that what's been hidden can finally be seen. Since I have developed the abilities to sense inside my body, I can add to what Carl Jung said. When I sense inside, I am sensing through the connective tissue or the fascia. I can sense tension and blockages in the fascia. This tension is the densest part, the most embodied part, the most physical part of our stored memories, emotions, and conditioning. And it is dark, like a basement, like a shadow. That basement darkness isn't just mental, it's in our bodies, in our tissues. As the tension is released, light flows through the tissues again. What was dark has become light. The shadow is no longer there. It's integrated, restored back to its natural state, its true state. The thing most people don't realize, something I just touched on, is that the shadow isn't just mental, it's physical too. As trauma expert Bessel van der Kolk shows in his book The Body Keeps the Score, our bodies literally hold the tension, memories, and emotions stored over time. So you can't just move the boxes around. You have to open them up and face what's inside. It's not about organizing the basement. It's about transforming it into a space you can finally visit in peace. Shadow work isn't as simple as changing mindset. It takes conscious, determined effort and real courage to face these hidden parts. Because when we do, we often re-experience the very pain that made us hide them in the first place. The pain of rejection. That original moment when we felt, this part of me isn't allowed. Shadow work brings that memory to the surface, not to punish us, but to finally allow that part to be acknowledged and healed. And when you do, the freedom you find is worth every bit of effort. Before I show you how to start this courageous work, let's clear up some common questions. What's the difference between shadow work and inner work? How does inner child work fit in? And what about release work, the name I use for the approach I teach? Inner work is any kind of work where you go inside of yourself, into your body or your mind, exploring your thoughts, beliefs, memories, sensations, or pain. For example, let's say you have a habit of biting your nails. You might be willing to look at that habit. Notice when it happens, what thoughts or stress trigger it. That's inner work. Shadow work would take the same process deeper. It's about excavating the older, buried emotions from when you first started biting your nails. Maybe as a child, maybe during a time of fear, shame, or stress. You're not just looking at the behavior, you're facing the original wound underneath it. Inner child work is a specific kind of inner work where you connect with the younger version of yourself, the version of you that experienced confusion, fear, hurt, or rejection in childhood. You might visualize her, write to her, or sense her feelings in your body. You're giving her what she didn't receive back then: understanding, attention, safety, love. Sometimes what we discover through shadow work is a younger version of ourselves who had to hide her feelings to survive. In that way, inner child work and shadow work can overlap, but the focus of inner child work is on nurturing, while the focus of shadow work is more on facing and integrating what was hidden. Now that you understand how shadow work fits into inner healing, I want to share the approach I use and why it goes even further. I call what I do release work because it's releasing tension on every level. First, we release the energy held in emotions using tools like EFT to let go of what's stuck. Then we release the energy from sensations by learning to truly feel and be with our feelings inside the body. And finally, we release tension held deep in the connective tissue and even the bones by bringing awareness into those dense, previously subconscious places. It's a full body, whole person process of allowing the tension to release so the energy can flow freely again and peace can grow. You could say release work includes both inner and shadow work, but it goes further. Inner work is like noticing there's a basement and being willing to go down and look around. Shadow work is going deeper, shining light on the boxes, opening them, and gently noticing what's inside, recognizing those hidden parts as an important part of the whole house. Release work goes beyond integration. It's not only about the basement. It's about shifting the energy of the entire house as the light begins to shine below, loosening the tight beams, moving the furniture, opening windows, cleaning the stale air so the whole house, the body, can realign, breathe, and feel lighter, safer, and more whole. Release work helps restore your body and mind to their natural, flowing state. That's when real peace becomes possible. Hopefully by now you understand what shadow work is and that it really does take work, conscious work, and time. So, is it worth it? Before we get into the how, let's talk about what happens when you do it, because the results can be life-changing. 1. You stop being triggered so easily. When you face the parts of you that you used to avoid, other people's words and actions don't hit the same nerve. You're not reacting from old pain anymore. You're responding from presence. 2. You feel more whole and more like yourself. You reclaim the parts of you that were hidden away. You reclaim the boxes you locked away in the basement. And those parts can be accessed and lived with consciously. Your voice, your confidence, even your joy. You stop pretending. You stop putting on a facade, and you start showing up as the real you that was always there underneath. 3, you understand your patterns and you can finally change them. That habit you keep repeating, that relationship dynamic you always find yourself in, you begin to understand why it's there. Hint, it's from unresolved emotions. And from that place, you can do something about it so that next time you do something different. 4, you feel more at peace in your body. As you clear out the basement of your body, the tension softens and the space feels lighter. Your body softens, literally. Your breath deepens, literally. You can breathe deeper as your ribs relax. Your nervous system calms as your triggers dissolve. You begin to live in a body that feels safer and lighter, yet is more grounded. 5, you stop fearing the dark parts of yourself. Instead of avoiding what's uncomfortable, you build the strength to sit with it. And that gives you a kind of inner confidence you can't fake. 6, you become more compassionate towards yourself and others. When you see your own shadow clearly, you stop judging it in other people. You soften, you understand, and your relationships begin to shift. Sounds good, doesn't it? So let's take a look at some ways you can start doing shadow work. There's no one right way, but here are a few powerful starting points. 1, start by noticing what triggers you. The shadow shows up when something bothers us more than it should. That irritation, that judgment, that emotional spike, that's likely a creaky basement door opening, inviting you to check what's in those boxes. Instead of reacting, pause. Ask yourself, what emotion am I feeling right now? Where am I feeling it? What event from the past does this remind me of? 2, pay attention to what you judge in others. What annoys you, frustrates you, or makes you uncomfortable in other people. That's often a clue to something in yourself that you haven't fully accepted. And underneath that is probably a memory from childhood. Shadow work is not about blaming yourself. It's about getting curious. 3, use writing to meet your shadow. Journaling questions like, what don't I want others to know about me? What am I afraid to think about? What am I afraid to feel? What part of me am I trying to hide or fix? What parts of me weren't allowed as a child? Let the answers come without judgment. 4, let the body speak. Sometimes the shadow lives in a tight jaw, a clenched belly, or a weight on the chest. Bring awareness there. If you want, ask what's held there, what memory comes to mind. Feel the sensation, relax into it, breathe into it. Allow space for what wants to arise and release. 5, use tools like EFT to release stuck emotion. When the shadow brings up something big, like fear, grief, or a traumatic memory, you don't have to just sit in it. You can support your body through it. EFT or tapping is one of the tools that I teach for gently releasing the emotional charge. I'll give you a personal example. For a while, I had an orthodontist who was a 2.5-hour drive away from home. Every time I had an appointment, I had this irrational fear that I wouldn't make it back home. It didn't make logical sense, but the fear was real. Through EFT, I traced it back to something deeper. When I was 6 weeks old, I was handed over for adoption, given away. I was taken from the only home I'd known and handed to strangers. I never did make it back home. That memory wasn't in my conscious mind when I was avoiding the orthodontist. It lived in my body. That's shadow work. Noticing the fear, following it inward, letting it take you back to the moment that needs to be seen and felt so it can finally be released. Shadow work is not just a concept. It's a lived, embodied process of going inward, facing what's been hidden, and releasing what your body has carried for far too long. Every part of you that's been hidden wants to come back home. The process of becoming whole again is the direction nature is always pulling us in. That's why your shadow keeps showing up, because it's asking to be seen. It keeps knocking on the basement door, asking you to come down, open the boxes, and finally see what's been hidden. And the more you're willing to acknowledge what's been hidden, the more peace and self-trust becomes possible. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. And you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to begin. If you want to go deeper, I've created a free guide that walks you through my 5-step blueprint to profound inner peace. It's the exact path I developed to release the past, calm the body, and restore peace from the inside out. What I call release work is at the heart of this process, and shadow work is a key part of it. The blueprint walks you through it step by step. You can download it from my website, annhints.com. The link is in the video description. And if you want to learn one of the most powerful tools I use, watch this video on how to use EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. It's simple, effective, and works directly with your body to release the emotional charge from past experiences. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with someone who may need it. Thank you.